Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
"26 of the best open-wheel drivers in sim racing come together to compete for the Grand Prix Turn Racing iRacing Series Championship and the $10,000 grand prize that comes along with it. In 10 weeks' time, we find out who walks away defeated and who walks away a champion.
Round 3 of the championship, and we head to a beautiful oval. Who is going to fortify their championship position? Who is going to prove their worth? Welcome to the Great American Speedway. This is Texas Motor Speedway, and it's live with us on iRacing. I'm Jake Sperry, I've got Kenneth Bueno, I've got Joey Atterbury along with me for the ride here for 100 laps worth of racing action. And Kenneth, you absolutely love it. 1.5 miles of oval, 100 times round. First past the pole wins.
There's nothing else to it, Jake, other than the 4 turns and that start-finish line right at the center of the front stretch. This track is so fast, it has so much grip, and we're going to see these cars wide open, figuratively and literally. In terms of the championship, we're going to see a lot of excitement, a lot of chaos, but that makes the fun of the first oval this season.
And it can't get much closer. You look at that. 6 drivers, split by 5 points up at the very top. Michele Costantini's second place finish puts him, it's a tie first and second, but on countback he is there. You look down the order and everyone who has struggled so far this season still has a real opportunity, Joey, to go out and prove their mettle here today.
Well, and today is the kind of curveball of everything. You got to go through, and we are at our first oval race of the year. We've already got knocked out Spa and Jerez. Now we're at Texas, so it is definitely the first variable that the drivers are going to have to deal with throughout this entire season. Who is going to take advantage?
And this is one of the few championships you look at that it absolutely hits everything. But very distinct, this, for in terms of 1.5 milers here, Kenneth. This is the sort of circuit that you really have to work on. It's rapid.
It's all about mental acuity at cars these fast at a track this short in the schedule. 1.5 miles, 2.4 kilometers. It opened back in 96, but it had a revamp in 2017. Keep in mind, these cars are going to be flat out all around the speedway, but there's a banking difference in turns 1 and 2 and turns 3 and 4. 20 degrees in 1 and 2, 24 degrees in 3 and 4. You're looking at a lot of grip on this speedway, and it is ridiculously fast. Going to be a challenge for these drivers this afternoon.
It will be a challenge, and I'm sure that we are going to notice just how important that is going to be. Here's a little look, though, at some of the fast speeds that they're rushing through as we take a look then from one of the SDK gaming cars then going forward. And it is lightning, and you can see here, look how quickly and how much locking up there is, Joey. Getting onto the brakes for pit lane. If there were green flag stops, this is going to be a very, very difficult race.
It's going to be incredibly fast. You pretty much wind them up around this Texas D-shaped quad oval and just let them run. And you were noticing that pit lane entry, Jake. Thankfully, these drivers have a ton of road course experience. They can pick out a brake marker. Hopefully, they don't overshoot it.
And we're just about getting ready then to head over towards our starting grid and how everyone is going to line up for this race at Texas Motor Speedway. Round 3 of the championship. It is going to be an absolute spectacle of racing that we've got here today. And the more that things change, the more that things are seemingly here, Ken, staying the same.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've got a very different obstacle in an oval this afternoon. But again, I mean, the championship is still on the line. You've got 10 races, so the motive is going to stay the same, right? The execution is still going to be at an all-time high. You need to be on your P's and Q's because one little misstep will take you out of the championship race as drivers are setting for the grid, Jake. Excitement at an all-time high. We're getting ready for this one.
Let's give some love, though, to this piece of machinery, though, Joey, because this is the iRacing official pace car that is here on screen. Doesn't that look absolutely gorgeous?
It's sharp. It's going to be leading the field around. And not only that, but these drivers, Jake, they are competing for that cash prize, that championship prize on the end of the series.
Look, there's $10,000 on the line for your championship winner. $4,000 for second, $2,000 for third. But the big thing is important here. You can bounty hunt $300 for every single race win over the course of this season. That's going to be crucial. One driver then looks like is going to be starting from pit lane. That looks like one of the Altus cars. But the front row is Michele Costantini, number 66. And we'll have Florian Labigra, your winner at the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, alongside for company on this front row. Ben Fuller will have Przemysław Lemonek then on the outside of row 2. We'll see what the pole can do out there from 4th position. Daniel Civi Chabo starts 5th and has Manuel Kubo Torres there. So for Stormforce Gaming and SDK Gaming, that looks like a really strong showing. David Toth and Jarl Teyen, they will house row 4 of the grid. It's nice to see the BS Plus competition driver move up forward then with a pretty solid start. Eduardo Leo and Simone Maria Marcheno make up the 5th row of the grid, then 9th and 10th. We'll look back then down through the grid as they all go through, because row 6 looks like it's going to be interesting. You've got Xavi Rose, who's going to be there, and the likes of Marcos Nunez as well. They are going to be looking to try and make some progress up through, and they might need a bit of strategy. So too will Michael Gianni and Gail Valero. They're on row 7 of today's grid, and they will have their work cut out. Tamas Simon will start from 15th position. He'll have Jakub Maciejewski alongside for company in the 16th position, as Jakub Berends, a different way to say Jakub, is in 17th. He'll have Pablo Espes a little ways down the order in the Wave Italy machine. Just behind him, though, is Jacob Reed, the man from Worcester, with Jeffrey Decker in 20th position. El Gato con la Pipa is very much ready to race. Charles Sears goes from 21st and has Matteo Calistani there in the MAG Performance Sim Racing team car in 22nd position, which leaves the race winner last time out, Matt Emery, surprisingly down the order with Carlos Ferraiosa, and the final driver, Jan Hoffman, for Vortex Sim Racing will be down in 25th position. This is their second lap now around, and of course with the lights off on top of the iRacing official pace car here, Kenneth, it means we're getting ready. We'll go green when the pace car dives in.
We are almost there to that sacred green flag. And Jake, you can imagine the anxiety higher for these drivers than usual, right? They've been used to road courses for most of their sim racing careers, but for the first time this season, these IRL ones are going to take to the high banks of Texas Motor Speedway. There are many challenges in this type of race. Got to be very sharp. Make sure that you keep it clean. That's going to be the biggest motive to try and get yourself all the way to the end of this race in 100 laps. Seems like a good amount of time, Jake, but with these cars, it will not take long.
The one driver starting from the pits then will be Carlos Fenollosa. He'll be the one who will have to wait. But Costantini, Labigra, and then Ben Fuller, your top three. Przemysław Lemonek in fourth. We're going to have ourselves 100 laps to determine this one. And as the iRacing official pace car dives down in pace with the Apex Racing Team driver, he's going to have a long haul to wait as there is the green flag. And we are underway. We are racing here at Texas. Brilliant start there as they go forward on the outside. Labigra looks like he's being a little bit funneled off then as they form that groove down on the inside here, Joey. It's all about focus right now and finding into a lane. A great start by Daniel Civi-Sharbo. He's got the Stormforce Gaming car up to third.
Yeah, he slipped right into that low lane there and takes away that third place position. But what I'm already seeing here on lap number 2, it's going to be the bottom side of the racetrack. Look at them all migrate. They want the white line early.
They do, and they know it's a hot track here today. In comparison, as we go on board then, charging forward with Xavi Rose, I believe it is, here on the outside, trying to make some progress early in 8th position. This is where you're getting that understanding of using that outside line. Brilliant stuff as he gains one more, and they're going to go 3 wide as they head over toward turn 3 and 4. That very nearly was disaster there, going through the middle.
And Labigra made the smart decision there, Jacob, backing out middle 3 wide. You don't want to take that risk this early on in the race. That was Eduardo Leo, who just set the fastest lap and now stolen away by Marcos Nunez. Clean air, though, is what I've taken away over these first 4 or 5 laps. The drivers on the outside, they're setting some of the fastest times in the field. So Eduardo Leo, Labigra, and company trying to make moves up top, but everybody's still on the bottom.
Tell you what, Xavi Rose just had the most amazing wiggle out there on circuit. He's got to be careful. And look at that. 3 wide they'll go through. Labigra is going absolutely backwards in this early phase of the race, wanting to stay out of trouble early. On board then with the Altus engineering car that is going to start trying to make some progress. This is Simone Maria Marcheno, who's trying to leapfrog through the group and find a way to jump up forward using that outside line, and almost gets lost out completely. See you and bye to the outside. That's what happens when one small issue finds itself through. That was Eduardo Leo, Joey.
Yeah, Leo, and then also Rouse kind of got knocked up way out top there. And we are going to have fast lap, keep on turning here. Something we got to remember with the draft, Jake, it could come from way far back in the pack.
It could come back from miles. It could be a little bit less. And look at this high line now here, starting to form. 4 up on the top, trying to run around here. And it is being spearheaded by the Drago racing car, Przemysław Lemonek, as they come off of 4 and look to start already the 8th lap worth of racing. This is lightning fast stuff right now, Kenneth.
And you can tell, Jake, that the drivers on the top side, they are not comfortable with staying down there and just running in the middle of the pack. As here comes Marcheno with a move on the outside, 3 wide for turn 3. He'll back out on Lemonek in an attempted pass for the top 5. But the guys on the top, they want to make these moves and they want to be aggressive, and why not? Some of these drivers are desperate for some well-needed points here in round number 3. They're going to need it. You run off the back wing of Ben Fuller. Him and Costantini have nothing to worry about right now as they tussle for third on back.
And when they're flat out for so long here, Joey, in this machinery, fuel becomes a big issue for one driver and one driver only. The driver who leads this, Michele Costantini.
Yeah, but he's actually got Carlos Fenollosa kind of out front. Remember, he started in pit lane. He's about to get swallowed up by the entire lead pack. It's going to allow Costantini to save a little bit of fuel, but he can't stay there behind Fenollosa. He's going to get eaten up if he does.
Peniosa's going to have to move up to that high side and play the courtesy game on ovals. Let everybody go through on board with a driver's eye view from Florian Lebigra. Then down here on the bottom of the circuit as he looks to charge on forward. And it's the same view you can have, ladies and gentlemen, if you join iRacing today and get yourself in and start your sim racing career with us. That could be something that is huge. You can log on to iRacing.com today to find out more information on that. Kenneth, everybody is just coalescing in the middle. Someone's gone way down to the bottom. He'll run right up the circuit. I think that's Manuel Cubo Torres. They found almost 4 wide behind.
It was, and a magnificent save by Torres. It was contact with Xavi Ross, who got into the rear wing of him, entering turn 1, and that could have been absolutely chaotic. Somehow, some way, they keep it straight. I was about to talk about Florian Lebigra's onboard camera, but that caught my eye immediately. Torres and Ross with the first big, almost caution happening at lap 13.
Look, these drivers are going to start dicing for positions, and the longer that this goes on the run, the more acuity that is needed. That's what we said at the very, very top. You need mental acuity, and some drivers are going to start making great progress. One of the best drivers who's made progress so far is Pablo Espes at the moment. Started 18th, Joey, and is up now 7th.
Yeah, I was going to notice Pablo Espes as well. He has made his way up. He's in that top groove right now. Looking at this replay of this big old moment that we had earlier with Kenneth that was on the call.
Oh, wow. I tell you what, that is an incredible save, Kenneth, to jump down into what was the apron and somehow still save it with the grip. That's an incredible save.
I have no idea how he was able to keep that straight. Probably the speed that they were going at around 230 miles an hour probably offset that car from spinning 100%, because as soon as you hit that apron and banking transition, it is awfully hard to get that car pointed back straight. And Torres did a magnificent job of avoiding damage 1, but keeping that car in contention number 2 as he holds on to a top 15 spot.
There we just had a look from the back of Michele Costantini on the white wall hard compound tyre. Now this is worth keeping a note here today. Because this is an oval style race, Joey, they do not have to change their tyre compound.
Yeah, you're right. In the road course, they have multiple different compounds, and they can kind of use that as strategy to leapfrog themselves through the field. But here on the oval, it is all the same compound. You might see some pit stop strategies being played, but all the same compounded tire.
Fantastic pace right now, and this gives you the best view of what makes these drivers all have to take. Because look at how many little oscillations and turns they're trying to make with the wheel here, Kenneth. They are having to make the smallest corrections on the steering wheel, and it makes a massive difference at these speeds.
It's sort of like, Jake, when you're learning how to drive for the first time. You know that when you go slow, you have to turn the wheel more. When you're going faster, you have to turn the wheel less to get that car pointed in any sort of direction. So when you're going around 240 miles an hour, you have to make sure that every little input you have behind the steering wheel is as neatly precise as possible. Well, there was almost contact there, Jake, between Lemonek and what appeared to be, it looked like one of the Stormforce racing cars up in the group. That was CB Chavo, and they get really close in that trial zone, especially on the back straightaway. Those minuscule movements can mean monumental things when you're going this fast and a pack this close.
Oh, look at all the vapors coming out there at the back of Ben Fuller's Dallara IR01 as he now pushes lap 20 already. A fifth of the race has gone through and absolutely is clean as a whistle with one little piece of contact, the only misdemeanor so far, and it's been all Apex 1 and 2, Joey, at the moment. They have been playing roughshod with everybody else.
They really are primarily road race drivers, but some of these drivers have dabbled just a little bit in the oval stuff. We're going to take a look at exactly what's going on today. 100 laps today at Texas. Something to notice, that pit lane time, 22 seconds. That's about the same time they're doing in terms of every single lap. So if you come down during a green flag condition, you are losing more than 1 lap out on the racetrack, and then the fuel tank lasts about 53 laps. So Jake, we're about halfway through a full green flag fuel run.
And that's where drivers will start to get a little bit more dicey out there, Kenneth. If they get down to the end of this stint, they're going to be jockeying for position to get off the road, and that could be scary.
Yeah, there's a lot of bumps down there on the apron in 1 and 2. When you have to make that blend on that blue line, entering the back straightaway, you have to go out there as fast as humanly possible with these IRL1s, and that could be a significant obstacle for the drivers. They got to make sure they don't spin the car and make sure they can blend right into traffic without any significant issues. Thankfully, I mean, we haven't had any strategy kick up yet. We're only 24 laps in this race. But how about this? Pablo Espes, Jake, in the middle of 3 wide inside the top 10.
Oh, and you're starting to sense that some drivers are pushing and looking for the angle that gets them up through the order, and it's very much a case of freeway style running at the moment. They're trying to push. Look at Jacob Reed there, for example, in the 31, making really good progress in the British Racing green and yellow, which is also the colours of what is Worcestershire. Let's get a listen, though, to the noise of these naturally aspirated engines. Let's go full throttle. The first caution comes out. It's Jakob Behrens, who finds himself in trouble in the IGL Coatings iRacing machine. Kenneth, he's got himself down in trouble, and that will bring proceedings to a close. We are under caution for the first time.
And surprisingly enough, Jake, you would expect that the first caution will come from this main pack involving multiple cars, but for Jakob Behrens, it was a single car incident. Just went a little too high on the line there in 1 and 2. That car immediately looped around, a hard hit to the outside safer barrier, and nothing that Behrens could do. It'll take him out of this race early. That's going to be tough, Jake, as well. 18th in the point standings going into today's race, 19th place finish last week ahead F, and this is going to be a big shunt to car 90.
Just a reminder, there are no fast repairs here. If you break the car, you bought the car, and very much you're in a position where it all goes wrong. And, you know, we're in this position where lap 28 of 100 here, Joey. This is too early for a lot of these drivers, but look at the calls then. People thinking, yes, no, yes, we've got to take. A couple takers are going to come down and get fuel and tires.
I think the big call here is just what is the driver feeling in terms of the overall grip on the racetrack. And some of them, you're right, you can't make it to the end if you come and stop here. But some of them, I think they just want the fresh rubber, have the confidence on the racetrack to attack at 240 miles an hour.
Let's take a look then at what happened then for Jakob Behrens, and this is how quickly it can go and get itself into trouble. Driving on forward, looking for the fast section, and there's a little bit of that aero wash on the outside. Back steps out from front, and at that point there, Kenneth, passenger.
The air could be very turbulent there, but one thing I took away was the fact that he was about 2 or so lanes off of the very bottom at Texas, which not many drivers have been doing unless you're all the way at the front. But even then, they're a little bit closer to that inside lane. Look on board there as Behrens goes for that hard hit. We've seen that happen in real life too. A lot of open wheel cars and even stock cars here at Texas get way sideways and out of control once they go up the lanes in turns 1 and 2. Same thing that happened to Behrens there to take him out.
Absolutely, and with the speeds that they're doing, how quickly, Joey, you get to see all the rubber come off of the tires out there. You pretty much get that dirty groove up on the top that you do not want to run in.
Well, combine that, you got to remember, 3-liter V10, 900 horsepower with incredible amounts of downforce is what these Dallara IR01s make. But Kenneth was right. You get up into that gray stuff and there is no grip. The other thing to note, here at Texas, the radius of turn 1 completely different than turn 3. So if you get way out wide and have to kind of arc it in, it's in no man's land way up top.
The fence is flashing to signify that we are under caution at the moment here, lap 30 here of 100, and that's one of the cool additions here, Kenneth, that you have around the Great American Speedway.
So cool that Texas has those lights, and in some sort of ways other tracks and other oval tracks across the sim and in real life have been implementing that as well. You look at Phoenix Raceway when they have that cactus on the front stretch that lights up yellow or green or red whenever the flag is displayed on the racetrack. It's so cool that Texas has those. I kind of wish though we were under the lights to get a better look at that, but those yellow lights on the fence, so gorgeous here at the revamped Texas Motor Speedway.
Right, let's get an understanding then of that pit stop window, Joey, because the top 11 have stayed out. Everybody else has come in and made a stop.
It's going to be a mixed bag in terms of that strategy out there. Honestly, Jake, I'd be a little worried if I was in that group that didn't come down and pit. They're on some old stuff. They're going to have to fend off a hungry pack.
They're going to have to fend off a hungry pack, and there will be a hungry pack over on Saturday, September 30th. We'll be heading over to the WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca. The Contender Series is in play, and who is going to book their place into the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup? You can watch that with us over on iRacing. That will be a cause of speculation, and everyone is going to be in for a real race there. There is still a lot coming up, Kenneth, and I'm really looking forward to all of what's happening.
It's going to be so much fun to see these contenders here at Laguna Seca. And Joey, I'm sure that you and I have seen a bunch of drivers, whether they're in the Porsche Esports Super Cup from last season or those who qualified in from the qualifying series a couple weeks ago. There's so much new talent ready to watch for. And one of the Coach Series drivers, Parker White, also qualified in as well. That's super exciting.
I think I remember seeing some names from this series as well over in that Contender Series, and what better combination than Porsche at Laguna Seca. It's going to be a beautiful race out there at the virtual California racetrack.
It is going to be absolutely fantastic. Let's turn our attentions back, though, here to round 3 of our championship here at Texas Motor Speedway. The lights are off on top of the iRacing official pace car, which will mean that we'll be going back to green flag racing on lap 32 of 100, which will very quickly soon flick over into 1/3 distance in this race and give them all an opportunity to say, let's go out there and do it again. It's going to be a case, though, that on this restart, they're going to have to be alert, and it has been Apex Racing Team who have been solid at the front, 1 and 2. All race long so far, but how will old tires versus new play at this moment in time? Pace now with Michele Costantini, the Italian, and the green flag in the air. He waits as long as he can, and we are back racing here at Texas, Kenneth.
And it's a single file start, but look at the chaos building near the rear of the field. Already they're side by side around the top 15, but this is the best case scenario for the 2 Apex Racing Team cars who have been dominating all race long. It looks like they have put themselves well far and away from Daniel Civicciabo and the rest of the pack. They like to see this, especially with how packed the front of the field was in that first stint.
Yeah, and that's going to be crucial for them. They've been able to save a little bit of fuel, save a little bit of tyre, but they'll be hoping somewhere in the next, I would say, 20 laps or so, Joey, to get themselves a free pit stop if a second caution comes out. Otherwise, they're going to be out there and they might have to pit under green. That'll be their one concern on board with Daniel Civicciabo.
It would be an extreme concern if you have to pit under green, but in terms of the racing and that restart, this is the best possible scenario for those cars that didn't pit. I was noticing Calistani, he really choked up those cars that were on those fresh tires. We've got a big time gap between the old stuff and the new stuff.
Yeah, it's about 2 seconds here at the moment, and we always talk about 1.5 seconds as the rubber band, Kenneth.
Yeah, but so far, the advantage doesn't seem to be going to those fresh tire cars, and the gap is so large that they are not able to make it all up. I mean, look at the front pack here. All the cars are going to go by from 1st to 10th, 11th on back are way further behind, and Jacob Reed's going to have pressure here from Lemonek and Florian Labigra. This is going to be a pass for the position, and everybody up front starting to cluster a little bit. But unfortunately, those new tires on the pit stop not to work that well at the moment.
It's not quite there. It's not quite happening the way it's wanted to at the moment. Just one retiree so far from this race. Jakob Behrens is that retiree who brought out the first caution then of the racing action. But it is Linus Stern here at the front. Nobody's going to want to try and put their nose out at the moment. Likes of Eduardo Leo there in 4th position for the virtual racing school team. And it's all about the work. Now, that is a very brilliant representation, Joey, of the gap. It's almost, and I say this as a couple seconds, almost a full straight at this stage.
I was referring to these guys kind of as slot cars, and when you get those aerial shots, it literally looks like groups of slot cars going around this Texas Speedway. And I mean, I'm seeing the gap open up even more. Lemonek is the first car on the fresh tires. It's up to 3.8 seconds and growing.
But Lemonette did a 22-1 on that last lap. It was a 22 flat from Michele Costantini, so they are losing a 1/10 of a second every single lap. Now, a 1/10 of a second, Kenneth, does not sound like much, but when you're considering that you are going around, as we get a look at the two groups here, top and bottom, you talk about 1/10 of a second around a lap that is 21, nearly 22 seconds around there. That's huge.
You're right. When you're going so fast around this Texas Motor Speedway, any little bit of difference in time is going to be significant, especially at this stage of the race, because we're nearing halfway. And yes, you might look at a potential other pit stop left in this race, but if you have 11th on back so far from the front 10, it means that things are really going to be shaken up strategy-wise, unless a caution comes out and brings the entire field together. Also just shows you, Jake, how much execution is needed on the restarts, because if you make a little bit of a misstep, here you are, 4 seconds out of the leaders.
Well, 4 seconds out is all well and dandy. The question's also going to be who's burning too much as they push on forward. This has been the sort of series, Joey, that we've looked at and said nobody wants to be on the front. It's very much like a road race and cycling. Nobody wants to be the domestique. Everybody wants to be the GC threat.
You want to be following, you want to be fuel saving in these draft packs, but the one thing that I do want to bring up, it's not like this front pack is good. It's not like they can make it to the end of the race. They still have to come in and do that pit stop. So we mentioned it earlier. If we don't get that yellow flag, it's going to swing back towards that second pack. But I'm looking at their fuel numbers. I don't think they can make it if it goes green to the end either.
Well, there is Eduardo Leo, the man from Milan, in another 23 machine. He'll be a little bit worried there about how aggressive Daniel Civi-Chabo is oscillating through those corners, Kenneth, because I saw him a lap ago. He actually put 2 tyres down onto the apron. He is struggling a little bit to get consistency through the turn.
Hey, he's trying his hardest to rotate the car as much as possible, and a part of that goes to the dirty air. And another thing that I noticed there on the onboard look is how far everybody is from each other, Jake. And part of that is the carefulness that you have behind the wheel. These cars are going so fast. Last thing you want to do is really make contact. You can't hit bumpers because there really aren't any on these IRL1s. So you have to be sensitive to how close you are to the drivers around you in front and behind. So for Eduardo Leo, who's coming off a nice 4th place finish at Jerez last week, he's going to try to be as careful as possible to make sure he stays where he's at.
Yeah, you definitely need to start banking points, and where better a place to do it than here at Texas Motor Speedway, through 1 and 2 and onto that backstretch once again. And you're seeing that they're not going with that natural in-to-out style around the way that they're racing about at the moment, Joey. They are running the lowest line, the path of least resistance.
I'm so happy you mentioned that, because this first group is doing that. Take it the autocross line, the shortest distance around this oval. You look at the second pack that's led by Lemonette and Lebigre. They're taking the traditional line where you really go all the way out to the wall on exit and then arc it into these apex turns 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it's costing them lap time.
It's costing them time, and it has been a very tough race. Jakob Behrens finds himself out of the race. He stood by with Kenneth Bueno.
Here I am with Jakob Behrens, the first car out of the race. And Jakob, just tell us what happened there on that incident in turns 1 and 2.
Unfortunately, my car wasn't running that well on the inside line. I had to run high, but the car got really loose, and it had been doing that for the first 20 laps, and then unfortunately it got away from me.
And just talk about the risks that you have to take. I mean, it's a very different race. It's a super fast oval compared to the road courses that the field and you have been used to over the last 2 weeks. What obstacles did you face as while you were on the track, and things that you learned that were very new from what you have experienced in the season so far?
I have never run big ovals, so I just didn't know what to do with the setup, and I missed majorly. I couldn't run in drafts, and I experienced very hard how that was in the race.
Well, unfortunately, it's an early exit here at Texas Motor Speedway. We'll be sure you'll be back on here at Silverstone in 1 week time. Jakob, we appreciate the time, and best of luck next week at Silverstone.
Thank you very much.
That's Jakob Behrens, Jake Sperry. Unfortunately, the first and only car out of this race at lap 51.
Yeah, so troubles then have certainly been there. We've just tipped kicked over the halfway stage of racing action, and it's been a very interesting one in terms of the second group out there on the road as we focus on your lead group. Person with the fastest lap check mark, which is an extra championship point, is Jarl Tayen. He's managed to coordinate here, Joey, with some of the group around him. He said, let me all go through and we might have a chance in the final 10 laps to duke it out. He wants to be at the front to try and push the pace.
Well, I think that if he can take that low line, really show them that there is a 10th on the table out there, they might be able to draw it back in. But I'm looking at that gap. It has grown up even more. It's over 5 seconds in length. They've tried everything. They've tried different leaders. They've tried leapfrogging up at the front to try to gain that draft time back, and they still continue to fall.
Well, they'll try and do everything. Here's a look, though, to the outside. It's Simone Maria Marcheno who's going to fall back into line here. Nothing he can do about that. Was trying to get the jump on the VRS driver, Edoardo Leo, but from one Italian to the other, North Italy to South Italy, wasn't going to happen for the man near Lecce.
Yeah, the driver from San Cataldo in Marcino really tried that outside and probably in a way to experiment, see what might happen if he goes up there and whether anybody else would join him. But it's a quick decision right after you figure out that no one else is going to go with you, and there's going to be possibly trouble there as you watch this race for a second. And Costantini really has pulled away, but now he's going to be slowing down. He'll head for the pit lane, Jake, with 46 to go.
No surprises there. The first taker then of the leaders with a green flag pit stop. Michele Costantini will come in. And in terms of pit lane time, Joey, that pit lane time that we saw in our race analysis, that did not include time in the box.
No, he has to come to a complete stop, and it is so crucial not to slide through your box right there. Don't give up any time that you've hard-earned on the racetrack. And something that I wanted to point out, Jake, did you notice the teamwork between the front two? It was really Ben Fuller that backed off, allowed Costantini that room to hit the brakes to get to pit lane.
Yeah, and it's that room that is key here, because Ben Fuller was trying to give as much help to his teammate as he possibly could. They are playing that sort of game. Dealing with the lap traffic there on the top of Jan Hoffmann, they go through. That's 2 laps now that they have an advantage in terms of fuel. So that'll be 2 laps less time in the box, Kenneth, when they come to make their stop.
And when Joey mentioned the race analysis, it said 22 seconds from the entry of pit lane to the exit. I mean, those are pivotal, and we were talking about it pre-race, the fact that if you came down pit road between these cars going so fast around the speedway, you're probably looking at being at a lap down or more. So any bit of time you can save on the pit lane is going to take you a very long way. And the good news here for Fuller is that he's going to continue to stay up in front. Well, Costantini's a lap down, but they'll be able to cycle out hopefully sooner than later.
I tell you what, this will be a game to see here, Joey, in terms of the stops. We focus on Daniel Civi-Chabo in second position. That gap opening out slightly now between himself and Ben Fuller might be an indication that Fuller's going to dive into the pit soon. As look at this second group now starting to go forward here. This is brilliant stuff. That's Florian Lebigra and a number 2 card. That's there.
Yeah, Lebigre trying to get around Jarl right in front of him. And this is what I was talking about earlier, Jake. Remember the leapfrog that I mentioned? They're trying to work together in the draft and leapfrog their way around, but it's still, they're not as fast as this lead group.
Ben Fuller has just dived into the pits then, out from the race lead. Number 55 is down in. That gap between that group is now down to 2.5 seconds. It's really working between those two tandeming, trying to get back into play. But now Daniel Civi-Chabo, all of a sudden, has a second in the back pocket.
He does, and that's because Simone Maria Marceno slowed down to around 210 miles an hour the last lap by. It looked like he was thinking about coming in. Now he's officially on the apron, and this is going to be a lot of lost time. He's going to lose a spot to the car right in front. Marcos Nunez, one of the top drivers in the point standings, and it's 2 cars coming in from 2 different camps.
Look, Marcos Nunez took a more aggressive pit entry. You can't fault Simone Maria Marceno. He wanted to be absolutely safe there, Joey.
Yeah, he's got to be safe, and that's why they was trying to use the apron coming in here. You see a lot of other cars just trying to stay safe and down on the line, but it can cost you lap time. But look at this. We have got the flood. This is when everybody's running out of fuel. Time to fill it up.
Yeah, everybody now diving in, and this becomes a game of chase because that second group should still have to come in and make 1 mandatory stop. They're not clear by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe in about 17 laps or so might be the time, but Labiga and Tayan, they're trying to tandem, they're trying to get that pace, because at the very worst with that stop, Kenneth, they're going to try and latch back onto that main group.
And when you know, Jake, that tires do not mean that much in terms of advantage, it means that you can pit as late as you want without having to worry about going in too late. You want to make sure you have enough time to cycle back to the front here at Texas and be able to hold on for the win. But the thing is, when there's not that much of an advantage from all of those that stayed out that long, it means that you can stay up front for a good amount of time and still hold on to your advantage. This is all of the life points, Jake, and this is tossing and turning every single lap. It's just how much fun these oval races are. You never really know until the very end.
But Florian Labiga and Jarl Tayan continue to trade like this. With Labiga in second, he'd be tied on points at the top of the standings with Przemysław Lemonek, who's there for Drago Racing, in third position. Brilliant stuff. All these drivers came in on lap 29 under the original caution of this race. They're on lap 67 right now, about to go on to lap 68 of their race. We are going to be inside then the final third of this one, and it is going to be absolutely fantastic as, again, the BS Comp Plus competition car moves to the inside, and Jarl Tayan once more takes a stint at the front, Joey.
And something to notice, I'm doing the numbers over here. This group that we're watching, they have about maybe 15 laps, maybe 20 laps of fuel left if they stretched it. So they will have to come back down pit road, fill it on up. But if we get that yellow flag, who is going to gamble? Maybe try to stretch it because you save so much under those pace lap, those yellow flag conditions. Or is that second group going to stay out on the racetrack, leapfrog everybody like this group just did?
Well, I'd say it's a second group and a third group, because there's only 3 who are away in that second group. Costantini, Ben Fuller, and Daniel Civichavo. The rest of the group have to try and coalesce and form back up again. You can see it right now. With 11 that are still yet make a stop. Jan Hoffman has just started to pits on board them from the nose with Jacob Reed as he looks from the middle of this front pack, trying to chase it on down.
And to touch on the point that Joey mentioned, if a caution does come out, it is going to be pivotal. Why? Because Michele Costantini, Ben Fuller, Civichavo and company, they are all a lap down. So if a yellow does come out, it means they're going to be trapped a lap down. There are no wave rounds that they're going to get. So it is efficiently going to take them out of this race. They need to be careful. They need to be somewhat praying to the racing gods that they do not get a yellow at this juncture of the race. 29 to go next time by.
Yeah, this is a very trepidatious moment of the race for these drivers who made that call and decided to stay out. They're all looking to try and make sure that it stays as clean as possible. There is Super Chaviros in fourth position. He's looking to try and don his cape and fly on forward, gain an extra position. His mirror's full of the Wave Italy driver behind. Another Spaniard that's there, Pablo Espes for Wave Italy, trying to maybe search and find where there is. At some point in this race, the coalition in this group will have to break, because everyone's going to want to win this one, as there goes Florian Labiga once again, the man from Bordeaux who won round 1 of the championship, back to the point.
Eventually, the sand in the hourglass will run out. Like you were saying, Jake, you have to make the move eventually as we ride on board the number 29 of Jakub Maciejewski, trying to hunt it down inside of this top 5. And I think we're still seeing some patience out of this group right now. I know that we're seeing the leapfrog for the draft up front, but still relatively calm right now.
Well, relatively calm. He makes a move over to the inside, trying to pivot and take that away from Jacob Reed. That's not quite happening out there at the moment, so the focus is going to be there, right up to the top of the circuit, and back on down goes Labiga for the move, then to take that back once again. There's the look on board from Jeffrey Decker, who is about to go 1 lap down in the number 13 car. The man from San Francisco here, Kenneth, is going to be hoping that he does not find himself in the wrong position, and in fact going to get himself a car to leapfrog ahead, and they're all going to catch. That was Charlie Sears for position.
Yeah, the Virginia native is also in this duo here with the other car, and we're going to see how these lead lap cars get around. They've been tandeming and switching positions every now and then. Now they're going to have to open up that outside lane and make sure that they can get around efficiently. Luckily, the lap cars are not going to offer them too much resistance, not going to give them that much of a fight there in 1 and 2. Labiga might just open that gap a little more here to Jarl Tayan entering 3 and 4. 23 laps left in this race. Labiga is going to look to hold on, but strategy always in the mind of the drivers at the front.
Oh, and the lap traffic in the back there has actually just tagged the wall coming through. I think that was Sears who's managed to clobber on the wall on the outside. So he's going to be very much keeping an eye on it. And he's got the black and orange mechanical flag. So he'll have to come down into the pits for repairs. He goes through We Stay Green here at Texas. It is still Lebigra and Titan, but they're getting very close. They're inside a 10-lap window. If there was a light flashing on their dash, so to speak, Joey, now would be the time.
Well, I'm looking at the laps that they've done. 50 laps is what this front group has done. Remember that race analysis, they can make it about 53 laps if it's a full green flag stint. So I'm expecting probably in the next handful, maybe 7 laps, all of these front cars have to come in.
Look at where they have all pitted in. Lap 29, Feniosa. Lap 26 of the race. Everybody else, look at those. 56, 61, 62, 64. All the differences are there. They are all on the same run. They're all going to be on fumes.
Such a large discrepancy between that first and second group, Jake, and it's going to make this run to the finish even more anxious filled for these drivers up at the front, because they're going to have to pit, then they're going to have to cycle around and hope that they remain up front and keep those drivers behind them a lap down or more, which is not guaranteed. Jarl Tyen is going to stay up front here, but we should expect, Jake, these drivers to come down pit road in the next couple of laps. They don't want to wait too late in this one.
Well, they don't, but strength in numbers, that's something to talk about here, Joey. They're running consistently a 10th quicker than the group behind, which contains the 2 Apex cars and the Stormforce gaming machine.
Well, I remember, I'm going to put my foot in my mouth back here because the other group was faster. But, Jake, I really think it's the fuel burn. When these cars get so light on the fuel, empty on the tank, they just keep getting faster and faster.
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? This is a hot lap car, if ever there was one. It is so lightning fast, and you consider this car is somewhere in the realm of 600 kilograms. They're producing somewhere around 1,400 brake horsepower per ton. It is an absolute monster of a machine as we focus on 4th and 5th there. Xavi Rose and Pablo Espes, who are all there, 9 to the front, and the one who's been the most quiet on the back of this, Kenneth, Matt Emery.
Yeah, Matt Emery started very deep in this field. He began from the 23rd starting position and somehow ends up in the top 10 with a chance at decent points. And you look at everybody up at the front, they continue to hold on, and look at these 3 right here. The Stormforce gaming machine of CB Shabo, and then the Apex Racing duo of Costantini and Ben Fuller. These 2 have been working so well all race long, Jake. You might just figure that will be the same with 15 laps to go, as here come the first takers, Florian Lebigra and Przemysław Lemonek coming in.
And that could have been scary right at the front of the group. And this is where you get that discommunication. Everyone's going to have to try and dive in. I think Jarl Tyen just said over the radio, I'm going to start thinking about coming in. Everybody jumps high to try and communicate around that. In comes the BS Plus competition car then in to make a stop. Where will the likes of Lebigra and Lemonek come out in comparison to Costantini and Fuller, Joey?
Only Lebigra and Lemonek just released the pit lane speed limiter, so they are on the apron accelerating. This is the group that still has to come down to pit road. Careful of this accordion, because they're going to be on the brakes hitting the pit lane.
They've got them jumped. They've absolutely got them jumped. This entire front group have jumped those who have pitted earlier right now, Kenneth.
Yeah, it's terrible right now for Costantini and Fuller. They're trying their best, but they remain a lap down, and they haven't unlapped themselves. Jarl Tyen, Florian Lebigra and company have taken such advantage of this. And remember what I said earlier in the race, if you wait late, it's not a problem, because the tire advantage is not that large. The discrepancy isn't that large either. So for the front pack, this is absolutely brilliant stuff as Xavi Rose takes the lead nearing 10 to go.
That is Ben Fuller right behind. So for all the work that's done, you're going to have to now scrap for it at the moment. Jarl Tyen has got a race on his hands, Joey.
And you just hope that you put the minimum amount of fuel in, because look at Fuller in the draft. He's going to be looking down to the inside as we get the rest of our leaders onto pit road.
Well, they've got confidence, and Ben Fuller takes 1, and look, the group on the inside, it's going to be a freight train here to make that pass. There goes 2, there goes 3. Still some, though, yet to come in. Espes and co. Reed, Maciejewski. In comes Reed, in comes Maciejewski. They'll both make the stop. Pablo Espes, the only one yet to come in.
It's going to be about the exit. Remember, we mentioned how important that is when you get out to turns 1 and 2 on the apron. Xavi Ross in 4th place has just gone now. They're going to have Florian Lebigre and company easily get by him in turns 1 and 2. But for Costantini and Fuller and Civi Szabo, they'll get around as here comes Pablo Espes with a chance on pit road, his final stop.
Right now, it's Florian Lebigre, your effective net race leader, and we haven't said anything about him all day. David Toff's on a worldie.
I was just going to say the same thing. The white and pink number 41 finds himself in the 2nd place position late in the race with a chance to win it.
Oh, look at the blend. They all have to go up high and keep themselves in play. Look to the inside then and to the point. It is now Florian Lebigre who's looking in. It comes Pablo Espes. This is your cycle, and this is the race with 8 to go. Oh,
Costantini and Fuller. Oh, my goodness. Ben Fuller went right into the grass on the quad oval, almost gets into the rear wing of Jarl Tyne's machine and almost gets his teammate on the back straightaway. Insane stuff with 9 to go.
And Pablo Espes merges into the field. He's now 4th as they push on forward. Lebigre looking for 2 in the first 3 of the season. Now you got to work. Now you got to push to the high side. Goes the look from 3rd.
Espes to the top, but he's in the gray stuff, and we've got a yellow flag on the racetrack. Jakob Reed.
Oh, Jacob Reed will find himself in trouble, and he will be one of the cars that are caught up in the melee. It will bring everything to a close, and now we will have at least a 3-lap shootout to bring it all forward. Calm yourself down. It's going to be a case of what can you gain out of this, Kenneth? My word.
An absolute showdown is on the works soon enough. Man, that was a lot of fun. Really chaotic between those drivers. And we'll touch on that caution in just a little bit. It was Jacob Reed who went sideways in 1 and 2. And we'll look at it here, Jake. This is exactly similar to what happened with Jakob Behrens earlier in this race. And this is right behind the main pack, so a little scarier for those guys. He's going to get right into the dirty stuff on that 3rd lane. That car steps out, and out he goes to the outside wall.
Well, you say carbon copy, you could say that is a mirror image of exactly what happened there. A huge issue for Jacob Reed. And again, he just gets caught on that high side, Joey. It's so easy to do. If you switch off for 1 millisecond around here, that's it. It's day done at Texas.
Well, with the speeds that these Dallara IR01 cars are carrying into the corner, you're right. If you slip up even just a little bit, it can bite you hard. But look at the track. Remember, different banking angles into turns 1 and 2. I also mentioned the different radius on how you turn it in. So if you're way up on that outside lane going into turn 1 and you have to arc it in, you don't have the extra banking there to catch it. Plus, you're in the gray stuff. It's just way too slippery to hold on.
This is going to be important to keep in mind. There are no green-white checkers here in this series. If there is a caution before the white flag comes out, that is it. The race is going to be called there as official. If we reach the last lap, Kenneth, it is a free-for-all.
It is 100%, and what that is going to do, Jake, is amp up the desperation for the Apex Racing trio of Fuller, Costantini, and Civi Szabo. They've been working fluently all race long. They were waiting for this moment to blend right in with that front pack, and now they're about 4 cars back from that race-winning position, and these two have been at it for the first 2 races of the season. They had a rough outing at Spa, and they had a better one at Jerez 1 week ago. The last thing they need to check off the box is a race win, but they're going to have a fight on their hands if they want to get there.
They certainly do. Joey, you start at the front. Your job is to defend. What do you do if you're 6th, 7th, 8th in the group? What are you realistically looking to try and gain out of these last few laps?
You have to be aggressive, but you also have to be respectful of your competitors on the racetrack. Remember, they're not smashing into you. We've had an incredibly clean race between all of the drivers on the track so far. So I'd like to see it stay clean, but I'm going to echo what Kenneth said. I'd keep my eye on Ben Fuller, Michael Costantini, because they've been up front. They've been working together, and now all of a sudden they find themselves back in the 5th and 6th position. How aggressive are they going to be?
Well, we'll see what the likes of Michele Costantini can do in that group. But there have been some great team performances to jump on forward. Now, there's no team's championship, but you think the individual efforts that are put in to get themselves through. Drago have had a really good run of things here today, Kenneth. The likes of Przemysław Lemonek and Jakub Maciejewski to be 7th and 9th where they are. 2 contrasting races, which are still both very good considering what they've had to go through over the course of this race.
And they've been through a lot, no doubt about it, here from Texas Motor Speedway. And for Lemonnick, this is only going to elevate his place in the point standings, or at least keep him where he's at. He's 4th after getting a 6th place finish in week 1 and then a 3rd place finish in week 2. And for Maciejewski, I mean, after DNFing at Spa in the first week, monumental to get a top 10 finish where he's sitting right now.
We got Ben Fuller here with us, who's in 5th position. Ben, 2 5s on your car. Can you move up and gain 4 places?
Yeah, this is different, huh? They gamble with no tires, so we'll see if it pays off. I've got the tire advantage, and it's win it or bin it, to be honest, so we'll see.
Well, that's a big strategy for you. In terms of how you're looking to make that happen, of course, you've got Michele there behind you. How important has it been, that middle stint of the run, to have everyone around you, your teammates, to go and try and make that push, keep you competitive?
Oh, we thought we were sealed, but they gambled on these tires, so they kind of jumped us there. They saved a bunch of time in the stop, so I don't know if it's going to pay off. They got really lucky with that safety car. I think had it kept green, we would have just driven around them, but we'll see. I'm going to send it.
Well, we're going green this time. We'll leave you to concentration mode. Ben Fuller there joining us live from 5th position at this moment in time. And Joey, this is where it's all about patience and who prevails with what. Florian Lebigra has got to have the widest car in Fort Worth.
I think Ben Fuller just gave away the most crucial piece of information. He is on the newer stuff. Everybody that stopped in that second group, they did not change the tires. That's how they were able to jump that track position. Like you said, Lebigra better get wide.
Well, they're on scrub tyres, and because they're on scrub tyres, they've gone through more heat cycles. So that might be something worth keeping in mind, because they're scrub set compared to what's there. Everybody's now going to jump over to the high side of the circuit. No one wants to be overtaken on the right-hand side. The only way to overtake on these ovals on the restart. So everyone covers that off by running the high line of the circuit. Florian, you've got the world behind you, looking for his second victory here in the Grand Prix 2 iRacing Series. Green flag in the air, 3 laps to settle it out.
And what happened? There's a car around. That's Maciejewski on the infield grass. He got stacked up as they were going to green, but that's not going to affect the race, Jake. We're going to stay green flag racing with 3 to go.
And just like that, 4 clear at the moment. Lebigra, then from Toff, and you've got Tayan, and then you've got Espes here. They're all trying to figure out what they've got. 2 to go, Joey, and right now it's about who times their move.
I would watch out that third car in line. Jarlteen showing some tremendous speed throughout this entire race. Was the fastest car at one point, but hold your breath, lap and a half remain.
Florian Lebigra has been to victory lane once before this season. Everybody behind him has not. White flag in the air. This one will go official. In through 1 and 2. A look back there from Pablo Espes and the waving car. Wide off the exit though goes Florian. Has he opened it up then for David Topp, who will look on the outside, but I don't think he's got a run here. If they go through, has anybody got anything through 3 and 4? The widest car in Fort Worth is going to do it. Here's the push for the line. It is Lebigra who holds and takes it.
Unbelievable run to the finish, Jake. And for Florian Lebigra, who started second in this race, dropped as far back as 17th in the middle of the race, and came all the way back through strategy. What a defensive showdown it was. Florian Lebigra, 2 wins this season.
Absolutely incredible driving. And we talk about this, Joey. It is the Tactician Series. You have to be the best at the mental game of chess to win this one.
And I think that's exactly why Florian went wide out of turn 2. I had my hands on my head saying, no, he gave it up. But I think he was just kind of leaving a little bit of a lane, bringing it right back down where he wanted to be, down on the bottom side of the racetrack to enter turn 3. And from there, it was all over.
Absolute money he was here today. Florian Lebigra's second win of the season. Everything you could want and then some. And there is the celebration here. No limits for him in his season, Kenneth.
And it just shows you that no matter what he's faced so far this season, he's been able to get over it. He's been able to rise above the chaos And this race from Texas, which we thought was going to be blown wide open for all the drivers who haven't had a chance at a win this season, but it's the man who wins at Spa to take control of this one at the checkered flag. What a race.
Look at that, 800ths of a second split the top four. Lebigra holds off the Arnage competition car of David Toth, with Jarl Teyen for Borosud in third, and Pablo Espes will be the unlucky one on the outside looking in fourth. Michele Costantini would make the pass on Ben Fuller fifth and sixth, with Daniel Civichabo seventh and Eduardo Leo in eighth. It's Simone Maria Marcheno ninth, and Gail Valero would manage to squeak through a top 10 in the final stages of the race. 13 would manage to finish on the lead lap, including Michael Janney and the likes there of Carlos Feniosa, who was way down the order. But you look down through there, the likes of Matteo Calastani, Jacob Reed, who brought out that final caution, and the first caution there for Jakob Behrens, not what he was hoping for in the IGL coatings machine. But we find ourselves, though, with victors here and those who absolutely wanted it to happen. It is going to be a huge win there as they go through. Florian Lebigra will now join us here in the commentary box.
Well, Florian, congrats on the win here at Texas. Second win. How does that feel for you?
Yeah, pretty good. Was really tricky at the end. We didn't change the tires. So, yeah, this is crazy. Overall racing with this car is amazing. I mean, not in the good way. It's terrible with the tires, but it's really good. It was good fun.
I have to ask you about the strategy. You guys stayed out, all right? And then you had to take the no tires to leapfrog in that track position. What was it like when you had that final restart on the old tires compared to the hungry new tires behind you?
I mean, I had to surprise them, so I really made early restarts. So, yeah, I think the strategy was good. When we had the first yellow, we directly go into the pits, and it works. Yeah, so that's good.
Well, Florian, putting your foot down on the championship. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
We're going to hop on over to Kenneth Bueno, who's sitting by with second place, David Toth.
It's the Arnage competition car of David Toth, who ends up second here from Texas Motor Speedway. And David, I mean, you were in that place with the strategy, with the group that you were in, you're all tying with Florian Lebigra. Just talk us through your confidence in that strategy and your experience winding down at the end of this race.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, the yellow flag came out in a very good timing. So we decided to pit and fuel tank and new tires for the car. And actually, Jarl and Florian did an amazing job in the front to catch up the guys in the front. And yeah, I think we got a bit lucky with the last yellow flag because our tires were quite done. But yeah, we managed to work together very well, and it's a 1-2-3 for us, so we are very happy.
And I'm sure you're very happy after a second place finish. It's your best finish of the season so far. Top 5 at Spa, then a 12th place finish at Jerez. What does that say for your momentum now moving forward, and how confident you are in your ability to knock down the door and get a race win this season?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident actually, because the next few tracks is one of my favorites. Silverstone, I really like it, so I try to do a better job at win the race. But with the podium, I'm very satisfied. So yeah, I'm super happy to be here, and yeah.
Big time finish here from Texas Motor Speedway. David, on behalf of our broadcast team, a big congratulations here from Texas Motor Speedway. We'll see you at Silverstone next Thursday.
Thank you, guys.
So David Toth with his best finish of the season here at Texas Motor Speedway, and we'll turn it over to the Norwegian, Jarl Teyen, who ends up third here from Fort Worth. Jarl, I mean, an unbelievable race you put in. You were fighting there for your first win. What did you feel was missing there on those last laps?
Well, the two cars in front are people I work with, so it wasn't exactly a race at the end, apart from maybe the last lap. I decided to maybe go for it. But apart from that, we were working together the whole race. And I think we executed the race as well as we could have. I personally am pretty sure I could have got pole position today, but I made a pretty bad mistake. So that's relatively disappointing. But we worked really hard on the setup all week, and I think we showed up with a very, very solid car, all 5 of us. And we were a little bit unlucky with that final before the green flag pit stops, to where the field got split in half, and we were like 5 seconds behind everyone else, and that caused us our strategy to be a bit compromised. But we maximized it with me and Florian getting up front and doing swaps. We gained on the field, and we did some fuel strategies and some tire strategies to where we can actually come out ahead of those guys who were 5 seconds before the pit stops. And we were able to get the lead, and then the yellow came out, and then Florian made a great restart. And yeah, we got a 1-2-3, and I'm very happy with that.
Well, it's a big finish here from Texas Motor Speedway. 3rd place, and I'm sure that's going to help you in a big way as we move forward in this championship. You're 16th in the points. I'm sure it's going to be a better standing next week at Silverstone. Congratulations on the podium. We'll see you at Silverstone next Thursday.
Thank you so much.
So that is Jarl Tyen, Jake Sperry, who rounds out the top 3 here from Fort Worth, Texas.
We'll take a look then at our points as they stand. Number 2, P number 1. Florian Lebigre now takes a 7-point lead over to Tocesta in what is the United Kingdom. He will have that with Davidov now up to 3rd and Gael Palero staying strong in 4th position. You look around the groups and say, who's been some big gainers? Jarl Tyen now moves up into the top 10, and a number of big names have dropped down outside of that top 10. Eduardo Leo, Pablo Espes, Simone Maria Marcheno. Joey, not ideal for them, but still a lot of time in this season.
Plenty of time in this season to rebound back. You got to remember, we're only at round 3 of 10 here, so gonna have to just keep on chugging along. One of the names that had a good finish today, though, Pablo Espes, there in the 12th place position. He had a nice finish, a nice points day before you leading into Silverstone at round 4.
It is the home of British racing, and that wing will say all you need to know. It will be Silverstone on October 5th at 7 p.m. GMT. Tune in with us and get in on the action for it. But Texas, they say everything is bigger. That race was mega. You can't ask for much more. Strategy, battling, overtakes, near saves, it had the lot. But Florian is back on top again, and he is making a statement as he wins at the Great American Speedway.